Hey everyone, my name is Sherwood and welcome back to A Spiritual Journey. This is the first week that I'm going to be bringing you into my day-to-day activities, and I hope you enjoy. Something I'm often asked within my spiritual journey and my sadhana is, well, what do you do on a daily basis? And a traditional perspective of sadhana is, all right, well, every morning I meditate for 30 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever it is. Every night I do the same thing. And during those I do this technique, and that technique. I sit in the stillness. And then during the day I try to do another 10-minute session or something like that. It's more of, what is my do? And I take sadhana a little bit differently. For me, it's actually, we talked about this in the last video. It's much more about how am I being? How am I present to and conscious of my connection, my spiritual connection, so that everything becomes a part of the sadhana. It's not just what is my practice and my do around it, what is am I being during everything. So my sadhana is actually, it changes every single week, sometimes day to day. Last month in December, I did 3-hour sessions 5 days a week. It's about 15 hours a week in the mornings. Didn't do anything at night. And that was for its own purpose. And I loved it, and it was beautiful, and it was amazing. And then this month, I'm doing about 7 hours a week. So much less, less than half. And it's also in the morning. So it's case by case. It's week by week, month by month. Next month, I'm actually going into a very intensive practice. The whole first week, I'm going to be in a silent a retreat, but it's going to be here at my place, and the entire time just going to be meditating for 7 days other than walking my dog. So it really is, it's something that sometimes I plan out like that, but most of the time it's, all right, well, what is feeling right in this moment? Because if we think of everything like energy, that consciousness and energy that we talked about, if we're just in this vast sea of energy, then energy has its peaks and its troughs. And so sometimes we're riding the wave up and we're going to sit more and it's going to be more connected and beautiful, and sometimes we're riding the wave down and we're not going to sit maybe quite as much, or I don't sit quite as much. I used to try to force it. I used to sit 90 minutes in the morning and at night, no matter what, for years. But that burned me out. I wasn't able to maintain that and sustain it, and it became an obligation. Honestly, it became something that it took the passion and the heart out of what I was doing. I originally started sitting in meditation and practicing presence and all of these things to reach an expanded state of awareness, to reach that unification with Source. And that was something that got me really fired up, really energetic and excited. But most practitioners will tell you that along the way you might go through some dry patches, and that you go up and then down and then up and then down. Excuse me, I was really being burned out by the downs. I was really struggling when it was like, wow, I've been doing this for so long, for years now, for hours a day, and I'm still having these downs, and I was resisting what was. I was resisting the isness of. That's how energy operates, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And so since then, if I feel called to sit more, I'll sit more. If I don't feel called to sit as much, that's fine. There's been periods where I haven't sat at all for a long extended weeks, months, because that's just wasn't where I was, and I needed to establish much more of a presence practice. And so actually one of my favorite things that I do, and specifically as I go into this week, it's to find my anchor. And what that means is that I specifically have done a lot of Tai Chi. I've done a lot of energy movement, yoga, Kriya Yoga in the body. So that's something that Chi, that prana, that life force, something that I feel very strongly and easily I can tap into it. And so that is my anchor to the divine. And so what I do is I try to, even in this conversation, feel that. And for me, I try to feel it in my third eye, and just it doesn't need to be this like overwhelming, just powerful wong going on. It's just ever so slightly. Can I feel that connection? And that's my anchor. That's my, okay, God is all around me, source is all around me, I'm united as one. And that is just this constant reminder, this tether that I keep to the divine. Whereas other points, I find that I might get really lost and caught up in day-to-day life, in the world trying to tell me that I need to be stressed out. There's a status symbol around being stressed, being anxious, being overwhelmed and overworked, about being restless. There's this, well, you know, how many hours did you work today? Well, I worked 2 hours more going on. And that's considered successful, and that's considered, you know, a status symbol. And it's just so backwards. And you know, it's something that pulls us away from that spiritual connection, that divine connection. Now, if you're someone who does work a ton, then can you keep that anchor during that period? And so my anchor is to feel that energy. Done a lot of spinal work with the energy rising up and down, with the chakra, opening up the chakras. So it is something I'm familiar with. If that's something you're familiar with, you might want to try it. If you can, you know, think of your coccyx and your sacrum and your lumbar and your dorsal, or your heart, and then your throat and your third eye and crown, and you can actually feel it during that, that might be something worthwhile for you. Other anchors can just be the breath. Just simply, whenever I think of the breath, I'm automatically reminded of the breath of life, or my connection. Paramahansa Yogananda used to say that the breath is the cord that connects the soul to the body. That always stuck with me, because in yoga, in the higher yoga teaching, so yoga is this eightfold path. The asana yoga that a lot of people are familiar with today it's postural yoga. And occasionally in those classes you'll see some of the pranayama, which is the breathing and the energetic breathing. It's meant to be energetic breathing. So that's stage 3 and 4 of the eightfold path. But there's those other 6 steps, and in the higher and later states, they say, going into samadhi, which is the final, the 8th step, that is this unification with source. And they say that they have the ability, and each of us has the ability to go into a breathless state, which we essentially go into an animated state where our body is in suspended animation and it can take care of itself, while the soul fully unites back with source. And so that breath, and once we're able to overcome that, we go into those states. Now, whether that is necessary or not is a completely different story, but there are many across, especially in the yogic tradition, the breathlessness is deathlessness. And so it's really powerful to, if that's a reminder, when I breathe, I'm becoming present, I'm tuning back in. And it's that presence practice. You hear a ton of people, especially in the spiritual world today, are talking about presence. Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now. It's such an incredibly powerful practice. Buddhism, that's, you know, a main tenet of it is just being present with life. Right now is the only time that exists. And so for myself, especially in this last week, since I wasn't sitting as much, a huge part of my practice has been just being present. Being present with my everyday. But to me, presence isn't just about being present. It's about sensing the divine within that presence. It's about being open to this all being, that consciousness that is the bedrock of reality, of the subtler vibrations within this moment. And there's something that I talk about sometimes called the subtlety principle, which is essentially, there are these higher vibrations that we talked about in the last video, those higher dimensions, vibrations happening all the time. And if I'm able to calm down enough, or at least become present enough to what's happening right now, just feeling my surrounding, what's going on inside of my body, what can I feel outside of myself, I start to tune into those vibrations, the subtler vibrations of life. My breath can help me do that. That connection within my body can help me do that. I'm anchoring into being present enough to have it become that doorway, that opening that Yokadashi talks about in that final quote. When you are silent, it speaks. When you speak, it is silent. And the great gate is wide open, and no one's obstructing it. So it's that great gate, that present moment opens up that great gate, connects us to the subtler energies, into that source, soul to source, that that connection that's never lost. So this is something, all of this is going through my mind on a daily basis, and it's a reminder. It's that road sign. It's the philosophical road sign that's pointing me to, oh yeah, become present. It's a consistent reminder of practicing being in that place. And I find that the more that I do that, the more that it simply is, the more that it happens. And people, I was talking about earlier about the do and the be. And in the yin yang, we kind of have we have the do and the be, but within each side, within the yin and within the yang, there is a yin yang. And it's an infinite kind of merger of do and be within do and be within do and be. And so within the side of be, there is a do. And then within that do, there's the be and do. But there's the, be present. And it's an effortless presence. It's an effortless be here now. But there's a part of it, there's a do until you get to that effortless presence. And maybe that's a reminder. So a doing reminder of being. Connecting with my breath. That's a do. But what's the purpose of it? To be. To be what I am. If my soul is already united with Source, it's already that perfection. All I need to do is be in order to connect with that. And maintain just being and believing that I'm already there. And that's something that along my own journey I've struggled with quite a bit is, well, I need to meditate for 50 years for an hour a day or more in order to reach enlightenment. And because that's often what you hear about or taught, it isn't necessarily 50 years, but a lifetime, maybe several lifetimes, maybe 30, 40, 50 lifetimes of being on the path before I'm able to reach full enlightenment or full liberation. And that's a belief. It's only a belief, and beliefs are usually formed from our experience. So maybe that's what our teacher's teacher happened to them and whatnot. And even if that's the case, 99.9999% of the time, that doesn't mean that it's a fait accompli. That doesn't mean that it's 100% true. And so believing that I can reach liberation in this lifetime is incredibly powerful, incredibly powerful. But what's even more powerful, and this is something that I've really worked on, is believing that I already am there. Believing that I already am there. Because how can it be anywhere else but here? Now is the only time that exists, and here is the only place that exists. It's all here. It's all now. So within that, me letting go of, well, I haven't suffered enough. I haven't paid my dues enough. I'm not some famous worldwide yogi or guru. I'm not a guru at all. And it's like all these prereqs before I would allow myself to feel like I was worthy of being there, of being here. There's a book title, I believe it's either by Ram Dass or by John Kabat-Zinn, but it's Wherever You Go, There You Are. I've never read the book, but I can tell you, I know the essence of that book. Wherever you go, there you are. It's beautiful because you're never going to be anywhere but here. And it's never going to be any time but now. So how is the Great Gate not always open, and how am I already not fully merged with Source? Maybe my conscious level of that isn't to the whole extent of it. And that might be where my work is. That might be where my shifting is. Shifting, letting go, untethering my soul from those limiting beliefs. And maybe some habits. Essentially, my likes and dislikes, the desires and the repulsions. And that's really a huge tenet in Buddhism. It's almost the entire thing is letting go of desire in order to release ourselves from suffering. I am here now. Here and now is the portal to God. That just internally, I just bubble with joy. I mean, that's the most joyous thing that could be for me. is that here and now I've already achieved what it is I set out to achieve. I'm arrived here and now. And so it's just deepening that connection and that awareness, that conscious awareness. So that is essentially one of the bedrocks of my practice, something I spent a lot of time doing this last week. Just within the daily, day-to-day, sometimes it's a little bit easier to be reminded, and sometimes I'm already there. It's just naturally flowing. That energy is just flowing up because I've spent a lot of time doing it. Other times I really have to work on reminding myself and getting back there. It's day by day, moment by moment. Sometimes it's a beautiful kind of ease and flow. Other times, maybe something just happened that I need to do a couple breaths in order to release, and just kind of maybe a visualization. In fact, this week I did a visualization where sometimes I feel like I'm a caged bird, just like my soul just wants out, in a sense, because I've forgotten everything I just talked to you about. There's kind of that momentary lapse because I get pulled into the physical life. And I did a couple of breaths and I visualized this breath, and it just blew away the cage, just shattered the cage. And then I turned around, there was just this beam of light just absorbing me and reminding me it's always here. God's always here. Connection's always here. And it was powerful, it was profound, and immediately got me connected back really strongly. So the imagination, the visualization is something I use a lot, because it's more than just imagination in the mind. It can get really palpable results. So I utilize that a lot. Well, that is this week. That is been the main focus of this week, and it's more kind of practice of mine. In some weeks I'll bring you into exactly what happened, kind of like that little story I just told you at the end. That'll be the whole time. Other times I will just bring you into kind of what it is that I implemented that week. What type of practice I did that week. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it helped. And let me know what you think, and I will continue to bring this to you every single week on a spiritual journey. I'll see you next week.